Hey, it's Rob Vanovermeire with your December 2019 real estate market update for Calgary. Happy holidays to everybody as we come into the Christmas season. And I'm hoping that we're all going to have a wonderful year end and everybody finishes 2019 on a good note. I will tell you, coming into 2020, I actually believe it's going to be a better year. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a realtor and I'm optimistic. I'm actually looking at the numbers and seeing what's going on out there and seeing some of the good news that is coming as far as job creation and economic recovery. And it looks just slightly better. I'm not saying it's going to be dramatically better. I still think we have a lot of oil and gas issues that have to be solved before our market is really going to be robust. But it is looking better, and we seem to be at the bottom. And that's good news for us in Calgary. This chart you're looking at is for detached houses for the month of November. And you can see we had a 24.25 absorption rate. And that is better than December of 2018, where there was only 19.45%. So we're heading into a much positive direction. Our benchmark price for the month of November is 481,500, and you can see that from 2018 we came down slightly from 486 to 481 for the month, and so it's not like the bottom of the bucket has fallen out. And if you look at the benchmark price trend, we actually are at 485,236 year to date. And that compares us from the peak of the market of 517,125. And I mean, clearly, the average property has gone down in value. But interestingly enough, I was at a home in Aspen Estates just yesterday, and they bought it in 2015, and we could actually sell it for the same price that they paid for it in 2015. So that particular home in that particular neighborhood has held out its value quite well. So it's not necessarily that your home is less than you paid. It's very possible it is, but it's possible that it isn't. And that's why we have to look at everything very carefully when we're evaluating real estate. Here gives you an idea of what happened in November. We had 710 properties sell out of 2,928. And what we typically see this time of year is the good and bad. The good is that the inventory levels are dropping from the peak of May and June, which is our peak months of the year, because people like to sell in the spring because no one likes to move when it's cold. So you get a lot more inventory, but you also get a lot more sales. So there's a bit of a trade-off. You drop down to 2,900, but you have only 710 sales, which is why it's never a bad time to sell in the winter months. I have had success selling in the winter months because of that. Less inventory means that there's less buyers, but less competition, so it's almost a trade-off. It did take an average of 61 days to sell a house in the month of November, and that's pretty normal right now. I think you're seeing approximately a couple months to sell. But keep in mind, look at how many people didn't sell. And I will tell you, a big reason why most people have not sold is two things. One, they are not priced competitively. They're priced on how much they want rather than what the market will bear. And the second thing I still see that is surprising to me, but I see it all the time, is the lack of effort that people put in to get their house ready for sale. I'm absolutely dumbfounded by that, because that is just something that everybody should do, is clean your house up, organize it, put things away, fix things that need to be fixed, do some staging, make the rooms pop. You're in a competitive market environment. Why would you not want to make your home stand out in front of all the other homes? But it's just surprising to me how many homes we walk into where there's just no effort made whatsoever. Here's the market distribution. And we can see right now the sweet spot of the market where the most buyers are is 400 to 500,000. And that's just because it's very affordable for these people to get into. And you add that to the interest rates, This is just going to be a very strong price point to be in. However, that being said, I mean, there's still a pretty decent market when you think of 18% is between 5 and 600, 9.37% is between 6 and 700,000, and that $1 million to 1.5 million, I mean, 323 properties have sold in that market. And what is happening, and we're seeing this every single month because I've been a part of it, is I've had people that have called me that have the, the $500,000 home that may have dropped down to 475, and they want to move into the $650,000 home, but that home may have actually dropped even more. And so when you do the math, you can actually come out further ahead when you're moving up. And I think that's what's happening is some of these people that have the lower priced homes are saying, yeah, I can actually get in to that larger home that I've wanted to get into, and the math actually makes sense. I'm selling for a lower price, but I'm buying that other home at a lower price too. And I think that's what's really fueling the some of these higher priced real estate properties as well. Moving into attached properties, the absorption rate is down a little bit less at 17.19, which makes sense because with the prices being what they are and there's some good value out there, you can find a detached house right now at a lower price point. And I think that's why this market has been a little bit more difficult, especially if you get into the surrounding neighborhoods in suburbia. I mean, if you can find a property that's detached and it's in that 300 to 400,000 range, you don't necessarily have to buy an attached home. So that's put a little pressure on this market here. But there's still been a significant amount of properties that have sold. The benchmark price is 311,200, and you can see the trend. It was 321,800 a year ago. It's now 311. So again, the bottom hasn't fallen out of the bucket. But you will notice when you take a look at where we were in 2014, 411,000, and we've dropped to 315. Part of this is because some of these attached properties were in the inner city and they sold at a pretty high price. And a lot of those have not sold now or have dropped quite a bit in value, and that has really hurt the benchmark price trend. So I don't want to give someone the impression that if you had a $400,000 home in 2014, it's now only worth $300,000. That's not the case. But if you take and factor in those expensive inner city attached properties, I mean, some of them were selling in the $1.2 million range. Those have really come down in price in this market downturn, and that's affected those numbers. 262 out of 1,524 have sold. Same situation with detached. The inventory levels have dropped and the sales have dropped a little bit as well, although not overly significant. 262, which I find interesting. If you look at even September, 299, I mean, we almost crept up to what it was the amount of properties sold in September, and there was a significant amount more real estate that was active on the market. So especially for attached properties, this could be a good time to be on the market during the cold winter months, if you don't mind moving when it's cold. 69 days on average to sell. Again, you've got to be competitive. My best advice if you're going to be selling is really take a good look at what is selling in your neighborhood, or if you're in a complex, don't get too wrapped up in just what you want in your pocket. Really understand what the buyers are willing to pay. The buyers are just looking for value, and I can tell you most of them are not trying to steal a property. They just don't want to pay too much. They're looking for something that's really comparable to a similar property that has recently sold. That's how buyers evaluate real estate. So you've got to be mindful of that. You really have to look into the eyes of the buyer in order to sell in this market. Here's our market distribution, and you can see for attached properties, the sweet spot here is 300 to 400,000. And that makes a lot of sense because, especially if you're a first-time buyer, this is a price range that you can get into in an attached property that is affordable. because in many cases, if you can afford 400 to 500, you're probably heading into the detached zone, and that's why the numbers dropped significantly to only 10% of the market, from 33% of the market for this price range right here. But you can also see as you get into the infill market, and this is the 700, 800, 900,000 range, and there's still a pretty good market there. There's a lot that have still sold, but they've really come down in price. I've seen some infills that have dropped as much as $150,000 in value, and that's not the best news if you own one of these and you bought at the peak. But hopefully, if you are selling one of those, you're also maybe buying another property in the same market, and you can pass that savings on to your purchase. So try to look at it that way and consider that in what it is that you're purchasing, so you just don't get all wrapped up in what you're losing. Also take a look at what you could possibly gain if you were to make a purchase. Last is the apartment condo market, and you can see 13.37% absorption rate. Still a very, very challenging market to be in. Almost every one of the apartment condos that I've been to, we're selling them at a price that the seller is not that excited about. I was even just recently in one downtown. They bought it brand new. $425,000 is what they paid. Right now it's worth about $365,000, and a lot of these people are simply hanging on to them, and they're just saying, I can't take that big of a loss, so I think maybe I'll continue to rent it out. So there's still a lot of being rented. In fact, would you even believe a bunch of buildings that were originally built to be sold as individual condo sales, the entire building is now just being rented out, and they're going to rent them out until the market improves. And that's helped stabilize our prices a little bit because a lot of these buildings are doing it. But it's also put some pressure on the rental market because there is a lot of choice when it comes to condos. So it's not an easy market to work with. I feel for you if you do own an apartment condo as to what to do. Do you sell? Do you hang on? Do you rent it? We do property management as well. We do sales, and I've had great success in the past couple of years of actually listing the homes and putting them up for rent, and basically going with whatever is the first that comes across our plate, an offer that we could accept, or whether it's a good tenant that's willing to pay us decent rent. That's something that we can do. Not a lot of brokerages offer that. So if that interests you, certainly reach out to us and I'll give you more information on how that works. There's our benchmark price of $247,900, down from $252 to $247. And that's why I said this year the condo market seems to have at least hit somewhat of a bottom, where it was falling a lot more than that before. If you look back at this right here at 2015, we hit a 291,783 was our peak, and now we're at 249. So that puts it in a perspective for you as to how much we've seen drop. But we didn't see a tremendous drop from 2018 to 2019, and I really believe that that'll stay relatively stable. But I know a lot of these condo owners are hoping that prices are going to go up so they can sell. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I really think if you're going to keep your condo, you're probably going to be keeping it for several years if you're trying to wait for the market to go up, because it has to stay at the bottom for a while, and then we have to see prices eventually rise. It could be several years before we start to see that. So you'll have to think about that if you're a condo owner. Here's the numbers there, 188 out of 1406. So it puts it in a perspective. Same thing, the inventory levels are dropping. The sales are still hovering, close to 200 per month. It's taking 74 days to sell one of these condos if you're obviously priced and positioned right to do it. So it's the same thing as the other properties. The winter months could be some success for you. So that gives you the full market update for the month of November. I hope this really helps you. And as always, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Text me, email me. You can Facebook message me, whatever you like, whatever method of communication you prefer. And I'm always available to help you out whenever that is convenient for you. Everybody have a happy holiday season, and we'll see you next